Well, I am headed next to Romania, and I would like to invite you to come along with me. Myself and a Passion Life partner, Tony Aredia, are leaving on October 30th for Romania. Let me show you where we're going to be going. Here's a map that shows some of the cities that we're going to be going to. We start in Bucharest, the capital city. And we arrive there, and almost immediately we have to take a flight up to the city of Cluj. There are several hundred pastors and ministry leaders in the arts, in media, women's ministries, and others gathering there for a conference on world missions. And I'm going to be speaking about our four questions and helping them connect that to the cause of world missions around the world. After a couple of days there in Cluj, we're going to be headed for the city of Oradea. In Oradea, there is a pregnancy help center that we have stayed in touch with many, many years. And here's a picture of their leaders there, Gabby and Mahela Vasan. And we're going to go there and encourage them and see their progress and meet their team and just generally encourage them in the work as they strive to reach more women in that part of the country. After that, we're going to be heading off down to the city of Timișoara, where there are somewhere around 75 to 150 Christian leaders from that city that are gathering to study particularly the four questions. And we're going to really challenge them to not only learn the four questions, but to reteach them to their network of other pastors and then together teach them to their people in order to see if we can't create some momentum or a movement around the call to rescue the innocent and to see those churches develop more pregnancy help ministries. After that, we're going to be heading over to the next city. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this one. I think it's called Valle Huiliu or something like that. Anyway, we're going to be meeting with some people there doing the same thing with the four questions. And then we're going to take a drive all the way to the city of Galat on the other side of Romania. We're going to be teaching the four questions over there and doing some interviews and other things. Then we're going to be heading down to a city called Kalareshi, and then back up to Bucharest, and finally back home. So it's 6 cities, a lot of travel, a lot of training, a lot of encouraging, and my expectation is that we're going to come home very exhausted and very tired. But I'll tell you what it is about Romania that gets me so excited. Romania historically has suffered a great deal as a nation. They have suffered a great deal as a church, highly persecuted in certain parts of their history. And yet they're making some tremendous progress in these current times. Let me just give you a little bit of history about Romania. After World War I, Romania established a parliamentarian system of government, like England has, for example, with opposing political parties and debate, and there were human rights and women's rights that were established, and it was a genuinely democratic government that was launched at that time. They also were a prospering country. At this time, Romania ranked number 6 in the world in terms of oil production. So they were well on their way to developing a fairly good economy with rights and freedoms and opportunities. But in the 1930s, the king of Romania dissolved the political parties, and he became a royal dictator once again. And like so many other people in Europe, the Romanian gypsies, the Jews, were the brunt of a lot of murderous activity and policies. And then, of course, the Nazis showed up, and they added to this long, painful history of persecution. By the end of the war, the king had abdicated his role as king, and Romania fell under communist rule. So they went from Nazi rule to the USSR having their foot on their neck for a number of years. And they raised up another a dictator by the name of Nicholas Ceausescu. He was a horrifying dictator with a secret police, forced labor camps, and execution for any kind of dissent. And it was during this period of time that the church, many pastors, many Christians suffered. Even in the distribution of Bibles, there was a whole secret movement and an effort and stories of much persecution and endurance that is painful to read, but is glorifying to see how they endured in their faith over that period of time. During Ceausescu's reign, he outlawed abortion, which would sound like a very good thing, and from a perspective of biblical morality, it was. But his motive for outlawing abortion was because he wanted to grow a larger population for his own ends and purposes, not out of some sense of human rights and human dignity. He wanted more soldiers. He wanted a bigger army. He wanted more factory workers. And so people were treated as widgets in his machine. He went so far as to impose monthly fines on single women over 25 and childless married couples. He required physical exams for women at work, and miscarriages were investigated to make sure that they didn't actually replace the word abortion with miscarriage. So in other words, all this oppression became attached to this idea of abortion and the policy of the government. So when Ceausescu was overthrown in 1989, the first thing that the people did to liberate themselves from this oppression was to legalize abortion. And look what happened. Let me show you some of the remarkable statistics that happened in the 1990s, the early several years of that decade. Here's a slide that shows abortion ratios. That means that for every 1,000 babies born, how many others are aborted. And according to the data, there were another 3,152 babies that were aborted for every 1,000 babies that were born. I don't know that the world has ever seen this kind of a ratio before. Now, according to the last, 30 years, you can see, almost 35 years, that this ratio has dropped significantly. But that's what it was like in the 1990s. In this next slide, you're going to be seeing abortion percent. This means not counting miscarriages or babies that die naturally. What percent of total pregnancies end in abortion? And the answer was 75%, 75.92% of all pregnancies were terminated in the early 1990s. Now that's dropped all the way down to 14%, which is amazing in and of itself. But my intention is to show you the incredible, uniquely historic suffering that the Romanian people endured during that period of time. And the final slide that I'll show you is a slide on abortion rates. This means out of every 1,000 women between the ages of 15 and 39, how many of them had an abortion in a year? And the answer is 236 back in the early 90s. That's down to 11 at that point, which is more normal among the nations of Europe. But you can see that by every measure, abortion was unleashed at a terrible level in Romania after the fall of their dictator. So we're going back to Romania, and we're going to try to be of an encouragement to the churches there and to the leaders, and encourage them to continue to bring healing to all of the men and women who suffered through abortion during this time, and to renew kind of a biblical orientation toward the value of life, and to help them to lead their church well on abortion, on the moral crisis of abortion, and really encourage their people to treasure human life in the womb, reject abortion as the shedding of innocent blood, to really experience the cleansing grace of God that washes away all guilt and grief and replaces all that with a testimony of God's kindness towards us. And then to roll up our sleeves and to get into the call to rescue the innocent, one mother and child at a time. There are a number of pregnancy centers that are in place in Romania, unlike some of the other countries that we go to. But I would say this, of all the countries that we have traveled and trained in, I would say that the least level of openness to the call of God regarding human life and abortion, the resistance has been the greatest in Europe. Other than the U.S., which is also quite resistant, in most other places of the world, abortion is not a political issue. They just want to ask, what does the Bible say, and how can we be obedient, and how can we be a part of God's plan? But in Europe, as it is here in the United States, abortion is seen through the lens of politics, as if it's a social issue only, or a political issue. And so that makes our trip to Romania extra special and earnest. Can we go in there and see God spark a new wave of biblical commitment among his own people that will slowly penetrate and change the culture and then begin to spread and create a witness for other countries in Europe, much the way we've seen Colombia has opened many, many doors to other parts of Latin America. So I think it's one of the most important trips I'm going to be making this year, and I welcome you to join with me. The way you can do that is to sign up for our daily text. On the day that we leave, we'll send out a text through your phone, and every day you'll get a video or a picture, very brief video or picture, a little quick update that will show us where we're going. We might do an interview, we might tell a story, but you'll get to join us on this trip if you signed up to receive our text updates. You can do that on our homepage of our website at PassionLife.org. And I would really welcome you to join us and to pray us forward, and to pray that God would send a refreshing spirit of life through all these 6 cities that we're going to go, and then spread it out through the country for the glory of his own name.